What would your reaction be if you were walking down a sidewalk or just an aisle in a department store and a perfect stranger just kind of has a friendly smile to you and then all of a sudden they look at you a second time and their eyes brighten and they walk up to you and say, "I choose you to be my servant." Excuse me? You're choosing me to be your servant and to obey everything you ask? I don't even know you. Implicitly, we know that servanthood and obedience go hand in hand. So taking that experience and looking again at the first reading from Isaiah, we hear, "The Lord said to me, you are my servant. I'm choosing you to be my servant." Isaiah even goes so far as to say, God formed me as his servant from the womb. In other words, I didn't have a choice. And we could say, as in the department store, "Excuse me, you never asked my permission, like if I really wanted to be your servant." And yet, Isaiah, in this poem, he focuses on the great honor that it is to be called as God's servant. He recognizes that it's not an easy thing, but it's a great honor. "You are my servant through whom I show my glory." In the Old Testament, there really are only a few individuals that are identified as God's servant. And one of them is Abraham. He was willing to sacrifice his own son in obedience, as an obedient servant. So you think about how he was willing to give up what mattered most in his life. And he was called God's servant. Another person who was identified in Scripture as God's servant is Moses. God sent him to Egypt, get this, when he was almost 80 years old. A married man, 2 sons, living a comfortable life. And he was willing to obey God and give up the comfort and put himself in a rather dangerous position. Also, David. Now, King Saul was God's chosen king of Israel, and David served the king faithfully. And he was so successful in his service of King Saul that he grew in popularity such that King Saul was jealous of David and tried to kill him a few times. And David had some easy opportunities to kill the king while he was already anointed and knew he was going to be the next king. So to be God's servant, he had to respect authority even when authority was not respecting him. One other to focus on, Job. We all know about Job. Job is identified as God's servant. He loses everything. He loses his children. He loses his livestock and property. He loses his good health. And yet, Job, when deprived of all these worldly, wonderful blessings, did not curse God, but rather remained his humble servant. Could we be this kind of servant? Would you like to be the servant of God? Then are we willing to give up what matters most in our life like Abraham? Are we willing to even give up the comforts of our lives like Moses? Are we willing to respect authority? Parents, teachers, priests, deacons, bishops, supervisors at work, even in those moments when they're not being respectful to us? Are we willing to humbly obey God, even when good things, good blessings are deprived in our lives, like the blessing of good health, and our world is turned upside down? God says, "You are my servant, through whom I show my glory." If we can do these things, give up what matters most, give up comfort, listen to and be obedient to authorities that God has placed in our lives, even when blessings are taken away, to be faithful, God's glory shines through these people. But we might be tempted to say, "Lord, if that's your glory, keep it. I'd rather live without it and have a little bit more control and freedom over my life." As I said, obedience is part of servanthood. And in the responsorial psalm from Psalm 40, we heard that obedience is what God desires from his servants. "Sacrifice or offering you wish not, but ears open to obedience you gave me." God desires obedience, and we saw this in the gospel when John the Baptist, just his wonderful servant attitude. People are flocking out to him to hear him preach and be baptized by him. People are wondering if he's the Messiah, and he says, "Jesus ranks ahead of me. The reason why I came was that he, Jesus, might be made known to Israel." What a beautiful attitude. And I think that responsorial psalm that we sing, "Here I am, Lord, here I am, Lord, I come to do your will." That is such, for me anyways, powerful words. So when we get stretched beyond where we think we can go, to call these words to mind. When someone who keeps asking you for help, and you say, "I don't want to help her anymore. Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will." Or if other moments in life, we even want to say, "Lord, I don't know why I'm not getting more help from you. Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will." Or, "What am I doing so wrong that I suffer so much? Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will." Or those moments in life when we say, "I'm sick of taking care of others. I want to take care of myself." Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will. God desires obedience. And it's as if our souls perceive God, who makes eye contact with us, smiles, and says, "I choose you. I choose you to be my servant, through whom I will show my glory." Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will.